Hello viewers, welcome to this video. In this video, let's see how to secure your Elasticsearch and Kibana web interfaces using XPack security feature. So when you're using Elasticsearch, it comes with different subscriptions. But the good thing about this XPack is some of the core security features are available in the basic license, which are free basically. So that's what we're going to explore in this video. So how to secure our Elasticsearch and the Kibana web interface. In all my previous videos, I've never done anything about the security. So once you start running the containers, you access it through port 9200 or port 5601 for Kibana. That's it. You are directly into the interfaces without being asked for any form of authentication, right? So in this video, let's see how to set up authentication, how to set up users, roles, and so on. I've also got an Ubuntu virtual machine where I will be configuring Filebeat to connect to this Elasticsearch, which is protected by authentication. And we will see how to manage access to certain index for different users and so on. So that's what we are going to do. So roughly what we will be doing is we will start an Elasticsearch container, and then we need to generate a certificate and a private key. In order to use XPack, if you want to use XPack, you need to have SSL enabled. So in order to use SSL, you need to have certificate key pair. So the first thing is we need to generate the certificate key pair, and then we will log in. I've also got the Docker Compose file. I will show that in a minute. So first we are going to start an Elasticsearch container. So the command is docker run -d in daemon mode -e, one of the environment variable discovery.type equals single node, because we are not deploying this Elasticsearch as a cluster. It's just a single node, standalone node. And the image, the image URL, which is docker.elastic.co. And I'm using 7.4.2. It doesn't matter what version of Elasticsearch you're using. So this container, we are just going to use this container to generate the certificates. That's it. And then we will destroy this container, and we will use our Docker Compose file to bring up the Kibana and Elasticsearch interfaces. All right, so that's running Docker PS, and it's called ecstatic sig. All right, so now let's get into the container. Docker exec -it for interactive, ecstatic _sig, and let's give it the command sh. Okay, or better, we will go with bash. Alright, so we are inside that Docker container, and if you look at the present working directory, we are in user share Elasticsearch. Alright, so the utility we are going to use is under bin directory, bin Elasticsearch cert utils, and type in CA because we are generating the certificate and key pair for the certificate authority. Alright, so ignore those warnings, don't worry about that. And the output file is elastic-stack-ca.p12. So it's the pkcs12 format file, which contains both the certificate as well as the private key. So if you want, you can change the name here, but I'm going to leave that as default because I've used the same name in my Docker Compose file. So if you're changing the file name here, make sure to change that in the Docker Compose, which I'm going to show you. So I'm going to use the default. I'm not going to enter any password. So that's done. And if you do an ls, so that's the p12 file, which contains the certificate as well as the private key. Okay, let's exit out of the container, and we need to copy this certificate to our host machine. Okay, so the command is docker copy, and the container name is ecstatic.sig, and the file we want to copy from inside the container is user share Elasticsearch and elastic-stack-ca.p12, and let's copy that to the current directory. Okay, so we have that copied here, and now we can destroy this container. Docker ps docker stop ecstatic.sig docker remove. Okay, that's done. So now I'm going to git clone my elk repository. Git clone github.com, just me and open source elk. I'm using the Git protocol, but you can use HTTPS because I've got the my SSH key set up. I'm using Git to log in, so it won't ask me for password when I'm trying to push the files back into GitHub. All right, cd to elk, cd to docker. So in here, I've got the new Docker Compose file. So that's the one, docker compose -expac.yaml. And if you take a look at that, -expac.yaml. All right, so it's basically the same as my previous Docker Compose files, except the version that I'm using is 7.4.2. And then I've got some expac related configurations. So expac security enabled is true, SSL is enabled. What's the certificate file? So this is what I was talking about. So if you created the certificate with a different file name, make sure to change that here, elastic-stack-ca.p12. So that's the certificate name that I used. And I'm also mounting that inside the container. So at the moment, this certificate is in my host machine. And while launching this container, I'm mounting this certificate and the private key file inside the container under user share Elasticsearch config. All right, and then Kibana is again the same, and the only two options you will find extra are these two: Elasticsearch username and Elasticsearch password. Because we are securing the Elasticsearch, we won't be able to log in. Kibana won't be able to access Elasticsearch without supplying username and password. All right, so we have enabled the security. We are yet to start the containers, but we need to create the users and we need to set the password for it. So let's do that. So I'm not going to start the Elasticsearch and Kibana at once. I'm going to start Elasticsearch first because I need to set password for all the users, and then I will start Kibana. All right. And I also need to copy the certificate to this current directory. Copy // elasticca to here. Okay, so now I've got that certificate file here. And now let's start the Elasticsearch container. Docker compose -f, docker compose expac.yaml up -d. So you can use -f, or you can just rename that, or move docker compose expac.yaml to docker compose.yaml so that you don't have to specify the file name. Docker compose up -d Elasticsearch. So I'm not starting Kibana, I'm only starting Elasticsearch because we need to log into this Elasticsearch container and we need to set passwords for the default users, right? Docker compose ps. Okay, cool, that's running. I forgot to tell you, but if you are following all my Elasticsearch videos, you have to do this one, right? vm.max map count, otherwise Elasticsearch won't start. Because I did this already, Elasticsearch is running. So now we should be able to access Elasticsearch. Localhost :9200. Cool, so that's asking for username and password. So what is the default username and default password? We haven't set anything, so that's what we are going to do now. All right, so you will get the access exception, missing authentication credentials. That's okay, because we haven't set up any users, so we don't know which user we need to be using to log in. Okay, so that's running, and now let's log into that. Docker compose exec Elasticsearch bash. All right, so we are inside the Elasticsearch container, and under the bin directory there's a utility Elasticsearch setup passwords -help. So there are two modes you can run, either auto, which will generate random passwords for all the default user accounts, or you can interactively specify what password you want to use. So I'm going to go with interactive. Passwords, interactive. All right. Why? So enter password for Elastic. So the default user Elastic. So we are going to create a password for this user. I'm going to say Elastic and confirm it. Elastic. APM system. Some random password. I'm not interested in those one. The only two passwords I'm interested in are for Elastic user and for Kibana user. For Kibana user, I'm going to specify the password as Kibana. I'm not worried about the other password. So now the passwords are all set. I'm exiting out of the container. So now if I go to the Elasticsearch URL 9200 and the password username is Elastic and the password I set is Elastic. Cool. So Elasticsearch is working fine. So now we are good to start our Kibana container. Docker compose.yaml. So as you can see here, the Elasticsearch username and password is Kibana and Kibana, which we just set it up. So now we are good to start the Kibana container. Docker compose up -d Kibana. That's running. Docker compose logs -f Kibana. So let's give it a few seconds and then we should be able to log into our Kibana dashboard. All right, so it will be localhost :5601. Let's wait for it. I think it takes a few more seconds. It's not ready yet. All right, cool. So from yellow to green, I think it's all running fine. Status changed from yellow to green. So now we should be able to access it. All right, so localhost :5601. That's our Kibana dashboard loading up. Cool. So now it's asking for password. So our Elasticsearch has been protected and Kibana is also being protected. So the password is, sorry, the user that we are going to use is again Elastic and the password is Elastic. Login. Loading Kibana dashboard. Okay. Help us improve the Elastic stack. No, not at this point. Explore on my own. All right, so on the left here, if you select management, now we can see security. So when you enable XPack security module, you will see these items here, users and roles. So if I select users, so you can see the Elastic user. So that's the user we used for the login. And there are also roles. All right, so let's see how we can create users, how to configure roles and so on. But before that, let me also show you. Okay, so let me resize that. So I'm inside my Ubuntu virtual machine where I have installed Filebeat, but I haven't configured Filebeat yet. So let's configure Filebeat. Sudo vi etc filebeat filebeat.yaml, and in here let's change the output section. So output is Elasticsearch, output.elasticsearch, and the Elasticsearch is running on my local host, which is 192.168.1.81, 192.168.1.81. Save that. I'm not worried about Kibana. It's just the Elasticsearch. Sudo filebeat test config. Our config looks okay. Let's now check if Filebeat can talk to the Elasticsearch. Test output 401 unauthorized. So that's expected because we are connecting to the Elasticsearch, which requires authentication, which requires a username and password. So go back and edit your Filebeat configuration. Filebeat.yaml, and in here uncomment the username and password field. Username is Elastic, password is Elastic. save that, sudo filebeat test output. Cool. So now we can confirm that Filebeat can talk to Elasticsearch without any problems. So that's good. And sudo filebeat, let's enable a system module. Modules list. All right, so we have all those modules. Let's try and enable the system module. Sudo filebeat modules enable system. Sudo systemctl restart filebeat. Sudo systemctl status filebeat. Yep, cool. Filebeat is running. Right. So now let's go ahead and look at our index. Index patterns. Do we have any index? Create index pattern. Filebeat. Yep. Next tab. Add timestamp. I'm just speeding through these steps because you might have seen all these steps from all my previous videos. Create index pattern. Creating the index pattern. So now if we go to the Discover tab, we should be able to see the logs. So these are the logs from Ubuntu VM01 machine that we just set up. All right, the reason I created this index pattern, the Filebeat configuration, is to show you how you can access, how you can manage access to different indexes for different users. All right, so if I again go back to management, roles. So I'm going to create a new role. So users and roles. You can create a role. You can attach that role to many users, like that. So let's create a new role. Role name. Let's call it demo role. And I'm going to add. I'm not worried about any of these. And I'm going to add the space privilege. So which space? Default space. So discover, visualize, all the items that you see on the left. So that's the kind of access we are seeing. And what sort of privilege do you want? Do you want just read-only privilege or grant full access to all the features? I'm going to say I want just the read privilege. So create space privilege. That's done. Role is created. So we have created the role named demo. So now we can create a user and attach this role. All right. So create user. Again, let's call the user demo. Password is demo. Full name is demo. Email address is demo@demo.com. Role is demo, the one that we just created. All right, create user. That's cool. So now let's log out and log in as that demo user and see what sort of access we have. Demo. All right, so now we are logging in as the demo user. As you can see here, we have logged in as the demo user. And look at the index patterns, index management. All right, so you do not have permissions to use index management because we haven't configured the role for this user to be able to manage the cluster for us. So that's why you don't see anything here. If I go to Discover, you see this error loading data. You don't see any data. We should be seeing the index Filebeat logs coming from the Ubuntu VM that we set up, but we are not seeing anything because we haven't given permissions for this user to be able to view that index. So now let's log out and log back in as Elastic user. Elastic user is a super user. Elastic. And we will update the role so that this user can do index management and view the Filebeat index. Okay, so there, click on the roles, demo, edit that role, and here I'm going to say index Filebeat, and what sort of permissions do you want? All or just read only. Let's say read access. All right, and then click update role, and role is updated. Let's log out and try it again. Log in as demo user and see if we can access the index. Demo. All right, so if I go to discover now, yep, cool. So now I can see I won't be able to edit any of these, but I can still see the logs, still see the index. So this is how you specify which user can see which indexes and so on. And if I go to settings, index management, still it says you don't have any permission to use index management. So let's try and update the rule again. Login as the Elastic user, which has super user privilege. Elastic. I'll show you what role this Elastic user has. So if you go to management users, so we've logged in as the Elastic user. Elastic user uses the role super user. If you click on super user, it has got full cluster privilege and run as privilege. It can run as any user. All the indexes, it has all the privileges on all the indexes and so on. So let's do that for the demo role as well. Cluster privilege, let's say all, that's it. And if I update the role and log out and log back in as the demo user, now we should be able to manage index as well. Demo and management, index management docs indices. You do not have permission to use index management. I thought I did that. Roles, demo role, cluster privilege, all run as privilege. Index privilege insufficient. You're not authorized to view all available spaces. Please ensure your account has all the privileges granted by Kibana user role. Okay, so let's log out and log back in as the Elastic user. And let's try and update the role again. Roles, demo. So what we need to update, so we have cluster privilege all. For file, let's say we need all privileges, and here edit the default Kibana and all, update space privileges, update role, log out. I'm logging back in as demo user. And now we should be able to manage index management. Yep, cool. So now we can just play with it, just create as many users as you want, play with the roles, play with the Kibana space, play with all sort of index permissions and so on. I haven't had a chance to play with this much, that's why I was a bit struggling here. But the idea about this video that I wanted to show you is just to show you how to secure your Elasticsearch and Kibana using the XPath security feature. All right. Okay, so that's all for this video. Hope you found this video useful. Just follow this video. If you've got any questions or any issues following this video, let me know. I should be able to help you. And please share and subscribe. I will see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.